Hey,
How's it going, Brian?
all right. I heard her say recording in progress this time, so that's
Yeah, yeah, that is a good sign. That was pretty brutal. I was pretty bummed out. I was like, oh man, I can't believe I just did that.
I've done it before. It sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I was like trying to contact customer service and like I think I knew. I was like, I must have just not pressed record, but yeah. So sorting through that was a bummer. But
This
yeah.
noise will go away in a second. Sorry, I'm just printing something. It's almost done.
Oh no, you're all good. I can even hear it, so all good. But yeah, for those of you listening, Brian and I recorded about a month ago. Really good podcast episode, and I didn't press record over Zoom. So we're gonna try to recreate it, and yeah, I don't know, just be authentic and run it back. Really appreciate you sitting back down, giving me more of your time. So yeah, thanks for being generous enough to do that.
Yeah, no problem.
So for those of you listening, Bryan Allegretto is a snow forecaster and part owner of Open Snow, and here at Dodge Ridge, that's kind of who we get our weather and our storm forecast from. So, Bryan, if you want to take it away with kind of your background and how that whole venture started.
Sure. So I I was kind of had a I loved snow my whole life, and I love storms. I love mountains. I grew up on the beach, so that didn't help with the love of snow and mountains, but I did love the ocean and surfing as well. But I was able to chase storms when I got into high school. My friends and I finally got our driver's license. We could go chase storms. Before that, we were able to take some bus trips. The local surf shop used to run bus trips up to the mountains. It was like 4 hours there, 6 hours of skiing, and 4 hours back. Quite the long day. But it was, I think it was like $50 included your lift ticket, a ride up and back or something back then. Super cheap. So we would cut school and catch the bus out of the surf shop and go ski. But that love of storms and mountains and adventure, um, it got confusing with what I wanted to do for a career. And so I knew I didn't want to just stay in New Jersey and work in a cubicle or in a government job, which was what my dad did and always wanted me to do. And I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? And so I went to school for meteorology because I was always called the weatherman. It was kind of my nickname growing up, always talking about the weather. And then I got 2 years into that degree, and then we were doing green screens in New York City because my college was right across the bridge. And our professor was talking about like, what's your career paths? This is back in the 90s, so your career path was, do weather for like an insurance company for their risk, which is what Joel ended up doing actually. You could do, if you're lucky, out of a bunch of people, maybe get hired on screen if you're somewhat good looking and can talk well.
Hmm.
But that was a small number of people that could get on the local news at night. And you could work for the weather service, but you're going to start with the overnight shifts, probably long shifts. And so I was just like, well, none of that kind of fulfills my desire to go live in the mountains and chase storms and do all these things. Now today, 30 years later, there's a lot of opportunity to do all those things with all the
Yeah,
technology we have. But back then I said, okay, now what do I do? And so I was like, well, I think I need to get a job in the ski industry, but I don't know how weather would fit with that as far as being hired. So I switched to business before I graduated, got a degree in business with that meteorology and storm chasing background and hobby, well, my whole life of chasing and doing weather. So I got a job in the ski industry in Lake Tahoe. I was interviewing different areas around the country, but Tahoe was kind of where I wanted to be because of the big storms. So I got a corporate job working at a company that owned a bunch of ski resorts. And that's how I ended up out west in the ski industry with a
nice.
degree in business and meteorology. And that's kind of how it all started, was just getting your foot in the door in the industry. And like you're working at a ski area, and I worked for a company that owned two of them in Lake Tahoe at the time, and worked in the ski industry for a long time. And met Joel in 2000. I think I met him for the first time like in 2010. He told me what he was working on, and he had also gotten a degree in meteorology and business in Boulder. He was from Pennsylvania, not far from where I grew up, and he was working for an insurance company doing weather, kind of the same deal where it's like, this is boring.
Yeah,
So how do we have more fun? And he liked to ski and chase powder. And he had a lot of friends that, they lived in Boulder, so they were chasing to the Rockies. And he knew how to forecast. And so he became an expert at forecasting powder for the peaks around Colorado for him and his friends. And so he wanted to start a site that did that for the whole country. I was doing it in Tahoe as a hobby. I had a blog called Tahoe Weather Discussion, and I was doing it for my company that owned the ski areas because snow is really important when it comes to skiing. And there was nobody really doing that kind of a thing back then, like ski area focused weather um, on a broad scale. And so it was kind of a new thing. And so Joel calls me in 2011, says, "Okay, I'm ready to launch this site. I have a friend who's a developer who works for the Weather Service. We're launching this site. It's going to be called Open Snow. We'd like you to join us as a third partner because we want to bring your traffic in. And instead of you doing it and I doing it and competing, why don't we just all do it together?" And I said, "Okay, well, when you start your own business, it takes years to make a lot. So uh, I just kept working in the ski industry for a long time and working two jobs to build the company. And
Yeah.
Joel slept on couches and borrowed money from his dad and did all the things he had to do to get started. But fast forward, what is it, 14 years, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Your sites are. I know we talked a little bit last time about kind of it developing and turning into what it's become now, and not only in Tahoe and Boulder, but now it's expanded and open snow is, correct me if I'm wrong, but used by people all over the world at this point, correct?
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, we haven't even had pro athletes now in Europe, like Nikolai, and he is actually with Cody Townsend this week. They are filming some content together in Europe. But yeah, we've
Okay.
been trying to build out our base in Europe and Japan
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
South America. A lot of people that ski, hardcore skiers in North America and Europe during the winter up here, they go down there for the endless winter.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised no one's made a movie called Endless Winter.
There you go. Nikolai might be your man. He's I've watched a few of his films. The Wavy one is the first one I ever saw. I didn't know who he was, but when they're taking the sailboat and during COVID and kind of hitting all the Kalars in Norway and the surrounding areas. So no, Nikolai's. I had no idea that he was a collaborator with you guys. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, him and Cody are two of our athletes. And so, yeah, it started mostly as a blogs from forecasters in these bigger ski regions around the United States, mostly Utah, Colorado, Lake Tahoe. And then we expanded to most of the ski area locations around the United States. We have like a dozen part-time seasonal forecasters that live and ski in the mountains in each region. That's how it started. That's still a huge draw. But obviously, over the last 13, 14 years, it's turned into a lot more. We've developed so much tech that we build our own weather models now that, ingest all the data from the other weather models, and then we put our own formulas on it. And now we're using AI technology to even fine tune that process even more to take the weather model data into our own model, tweak it, use AI to fine tune it even more to constantly be obsessed with having the most accurate mountain forecasts. And so it's a lot more features. I think last time we talked a month ago until now, we've come out with a new feature, which is you can actually look at all the weather models yourself. Have you
Yeah.
played with that?
I have. It's been pretty cool to look at it. Yeah, yeah. Still trying to take it all in, but no, that's been a pretty cool tool. And yeah, I mean, a month ago we were talking where we had these storms that were and all these tools that you're using and they're forecasting all this stuff. And again, I think sometimes what people don't understand is like you're using these tools to do the best that you can to predict what's going to happen, but like at the end of the day, neither one of us knows. And so it's like we're doing our best and it's a guess and based off of all this info that we have, but sometimes mother nature, throws a curveball at us and the storm blows right over and blows past us. But no, that's something that I enjoy about the way that you report is you say how it is and you try to push that out to the people where it's like these are all the tools that we're using and this is the best prediction. But again, at the end of the day, it's Mother Nature. So
It could be
Yeah.
frustrating. Now that everyone can see the weather models that we're looking at on our site, it's in that pretty little graph with the plumes, and it's showing you all of the latest model runs from all these different weather models. And you can see like even say for the storms coming up this week, you can see where there's models that say we're going to get a foot of snow and models say we're going to get an inch of snow. And then you can see how the open snow model, which is the thicker line in the middle, takes the average of all that and, says,
Calculates
oh,
it
we're going to
out.
get 5 inches, 6 inches right in the middle. What's super frustrating is like the last storm for Palisades, they only got 1.6 inches of precipitation that fell when the models were showing between 1.9 and 2.9 with an average of 2.2, and they got 1.6. So when you look at that graph and you can see the wettest models, the driest models, and everything in between, they got below the driest. So how would you know to make a forecast based on less than what any other model is showing out there? Obviously, you're
Yeah,
going to take an average. You're not going to, nobody's going to sit there and say, oh, yeah, we're probably going to get 3/10 of an inch less than even the driest model's saying. Like, you
yeah,
can't do that. So,
yeah.
yeah. And then they get 3/10 of an inch less, and they end up getting 15 inches of snow when everyone else got 2 feet. And
Hmm.
everyone says, oh, you were off by 10 inches. And you're like, well, well, good luck. Let me see you do
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
it.
Exactly. So yeah, we were. I mean, a month ago was these storms were blowing over, and we were getting all these predictions, and they were just kind of blowing right past, and the high winds were pushing them through. And then since then, this last storm, at least over here at Dodge Ridge, like it hit us pretty heavy. It was coming down that Monday, and then Tuesday even the whole day. And yeah, we got quite the accumulation, which was super nice. So moving forward to these storms coming up, are you trusting, like what's it showing you based off of how the patterns have been this year, where it's blown over or it's just finally hit us? What can we expect, or what's your tools telling you? I guess I have the information too and I'm looking at it, but in your terms.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating sometimes this time of year. We go into spring and the storm door opens. And the problem is the jet stream's weaker, the wavelengths are shorter, the storms don't have the ability to spin up as big and wet as they do in the middle of winter. And so you're like, oh, well, the door's open, but it's open to small storms. But we still have some time. There's a storm next Tuesday, April 1st and 2nd. That could be a decent storm all the way down to Dodge Ridge. We'll have to keep an
Okay.
eye on it, but it could bring significant snowfall. But once you start really getting into April, it gets a lot harder to see big storms. The snowfall average goes from 70 to 76 inches between December and March, and then drops to like 35 inches for April, and then
Yeah,
drops in half again for May, like 15 inches. So it's, you know, we get 50% of the snowfall going into April as we would see in March. And
yeah,
that's attributed to that storm track shifting north, the storms getting smaller. So the storm door's open through the first week of April, maybe into the second week a little. So, but it'll be hard to get a really big storm, maybe one decent storm.
One decent one. It seems like that's happened to. I mean, at least last year, I took a road trip and took the season off, and then when I got back, I think like it was around second week of April. There's a huge storm, like kind of end of the season kicker, and I know that's happened a few times. So, I, yeah,
It's
no,
the Pacific Northwest. Mike, on our podcast, we have a podcast called The Flakes that we record Monday nights, and our forecaster Mike, who's actually does just below Dodge Ridge, his territory is Southern California, so from Mammoth south into all the way down to LA in the Southern Sierra. He was telling me though last night that he was looking at the Pacific Northwest, which has gotten hammered this year, and there's snowpacks up there that are the highest they've ever been, or the highest since the early 80s. And so we've been on the southern edge of that storm track, that super big wet storms track all season. And at the beginning of the season, I thought the storm track would be a little farther south into the Central Sierra for most of the winter based on what I was seeing. And what's interesting is with the way this season's going to end up panning out, thanks to that ridiculously dry January, is officially at the Snow Lab, which is on the northwest corner of the Tahoe Basin, they've recorded 4 out of the last 5 months with above average snowfall. They had above average November, December, February, and March, and maybe April if we get a big
yeah,
storm next Tuesday, Wednesday. So we could have 4 or 5 out of 6 months of the ski season with above average snowfall, and we'll probably end up below average for the season because January was so dry.
yeah.
But that's not 5 out of 6 months above average on the south side of the lake or at Dodge Ridge or Mammoth
Hmm.
because it just barely caught. the north side of the lake, and the storm track just wasn't as far south this year as what I was thinking it could be or hoping it could be. But a lot of
Yeah.
things changed from the fall till now as far as ocean patterns and stuff that helped affect the pattern and keep us from getting a ton of big storms. But it doesn't feel like, and you would know too, like sitting there, like it feels decent now because we got a lot of big storms here in March, and so we're ending the season on a pretty good note. But
Yeah.
if you go back and think through like December when we had warm storms, January it was dry, February we got a little bit of snow, and you're like, it just kind of feels like like a slightly below average season. It's gonna finish well, but it's just kind of eh.
Yeah.
But statistically, it was a good year when you get only one below average month the whole season for snowfall officially.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird season.
No, that's definitely interesting. Because yeah, I was thinking like if you would have, yeah, I didn't realize that we were even above that. Because yeah, definitely see. I mean, it's high as 60 degrees here today, so it's like, and yeah, warmer storms and January being how it was, and yeah, I would have thought for sure that we were below, but yeah, I guess it is that just kind of weird season. So, well, one thing with your degree and your business degree and being a meteorologist, sorry, I always struggle with that word, is a lot of terminology. How have you shifted? I mean, there's these big words and all these things, and then how have you shifted to get it to the people in layman's term, so to speak? And how's that beneficial to you?
Yeah, so when I'm reading back in the day, let's go back to the early 2000s when I'm first chasing storms and getting my first gig in the ski industry. I'm reading National Weather Service forecasts, which they've actually made them a little easier to read, especially around ski areas in the last few years. I think because, they're getting a broader audience as well, but they were very hard to read back then unless you had a background in meteorology and understand some of their terms. And some of the blogs I would read out there that were for the Pacific Northwest or the Western US or the whole US, they're pretty technical, and my friends just want to know when to go skiing and where. And so being technical wasn't going to help them. So the way I was writing emails to everyone in the office back then was super easy to understand for everyone else who didn't have meteorology background, that they worked in business or marketing departments for these ski areas, and they just wanted to know, when's it going to snow, how much, will there be winds, will it be raining at the bottom, what'll be the best morning for powder. And I was able to kind of wrap it up real nice for them in a few paragraphs. And that's when marketing came over and they said, hey, you should start a blog. And I said, what's that? They said, here, check this site. It's called Blogspot or whatever. It was like 2005, 2006, it's a long time ago when blogs were just getting ramped up. But there was no smartphones then. And so you could read emails or you could go on the internet and read a blog. And so I was the first one in the Tahoe Basin for these ski areas around here that was giving this pretty picture package of how much snow could come, what's the best powder morning, and all that. That was connected to ski area weather pages. And so that kind of got everyone's appetite for that. Joel was doing the same thing in Colorado, and Evan was doing the same thing in Utah during these early years. And so to put it all on one website, we're like, all right, let's make it really easy to understand and wrap this all together on one website for all these skiers. And I think that was kind of the draw. That's what created this huge amount of traffic in the early years. And then obviously now we're a subscription site, so um, advertising got strange. Everyone knows that's why you try to read like the New York Times and they want to charge you $1 to
Yeah.
pay to read an article.
Yeah.
Uh, because it was declining with like Google Pixels and Google Ads, and all this was undercutting everyone. So anyway, everyone started making less and less and less money off advertising, so it made it really hard to keep bringing this easy to understand stuff free,
Yeah.
because instead of the money going up to continue to invest in our technology, the money was going, in the future was going to go down if you just stuck with advertising. So that's why the subscription businesses kind of started to take off. So obviously we have just as many people usually trying to look at our stuff or trying to get in or reading our stuff, but there's not as many people that have um, back in the day when it was free versus now, we still have a lot of subscribers, but not this huge number that it was when it was free.
Yeah.
But the people that are with us and subscribing appreciate it and continue to come for the same thing. I think the 10-day forecast is our number one draw. the 10-day snowfall forecast, which like nobody else does that. You
Yeah.
know, it's hard to find a 10-day snowfall forecast anywhere. And then um, number two now is I think the maps pages might be number two, but it was the daily snows, the forecast blogs, and I think they're
Yeah.
number three now, but they're still top three draw. Like this easy to understand. When's it going to snow? When should I be there? Because all the data is there for you to do it yourself now, especially with the weather models.
Yeah.
You don't need us. You can do your
Sure.
own forecasting with our tools, but people are still using us for the commentary or the shortcut to know what's going to happen without
Hmm.
having to do any work.
Yeah, and it speeds up the process too. So, I mean, we talked, um, yeah, a month ago, and it was kind of like, I mean, we're reading your report in the morning and like putting that out, and then also I thought it was kind of cool to see like you're doing the forecast, and then you're waiting for us to respond to see how it lines up, and I just, yeah, I mean, kind of helping each other out here, which I think is pretty neat. What would you say to people that are like, I mean, I guess yeah, they could do it themselves. I think nowadays it's some people just like the ease of it and being able to click it. What would you say to people who are maybe on the fence about subscribing or not? To I don't know. What's your sales pitch? I guess.
Well, now all the transactions, you know, as far as communication and money, is all in this group of people that are all we're in a relationship with, right? So you're in a relationship with us, we're in a relationship with you. Your money goes to funding all our technology and forecasting and all of our growth. You know, where before we were adding in this third partner, there, you know, the money was flowing back and forth through these advertising companies and we're relying on them and their advertising dollars and the traffic. So we need eyeballs on their ads. We need you guys buying stuff from this third partner. Now it's just no, it's just you and us.
Yeah.
When what do you want? And people write us in all day long, like, hey, we want to see this, we love this, you should try this. So we have our meetings. We're like, hey, people are asking for this, they're asking for this, let's develop it. And so we take your thoughts, what you want to see. You're paying us directly to do it, and you have that relationship with us. We're speaking to you. You're speaking to us. I just think that's way cooler in that subscription model like that. Um, so you know where your money's going, and you have control over what we're developing. We're developing
Yeah.
what you're asking for, and and it for us as a company, it keeps us sustainable because then we can budget and forecast money coming in so that we can continue to know how much money we have to make new features and develop things into the future. Advertising, you're kind of at the will of the advertisers, so it's a lot more scary to
Yeah.
develop new technology because you're not sure if that money's coming next year to pay for it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So you mentioned like earlier Joel sleeping on couch or on his couch and you kind of remaining in the ski industry as you started this thing. Did you ever think that it would develop into to what it was, or was it more of just like this is what I'm passionate about, and if it ultimately turns into something great, but what was that thought process?
Never did we think it would turn into this. Joel last year sent me just like a one line and on Slack, and he's just said something like, "Can you believe it?" or "Did you ever dream this?" It was something like that, and just like he's amazed at where we've come. And I said, no, never. Like, I just plan to continue to grow my career. I was in ski industry, then I got into ski industry resorts and hotels. And so before I completely quit doing ski industry stuff, I was the GM of a hotel. And so I'd work my way up to that level and made decent money doing it, but walked away because
Yeah.
because our company was making enough finally after 10 years that it could pay me a decent salary and I could walk away from doing two jobs. Who wants to work two jobs their whole life? So if you don't
Yeah.
have to, so and I've been working two or three since I was 12. So I was happy to to go to doing one. And as soon as you did that, I could invest even more time into the product and into Open Snow. And but we never thought it would get to this. But I think not only did we never think it would get to this, but we're still small. And it's awesome that we get to do this for a living. But I think our potential is nowhere near realized yet. And
Yeah.
so we've spent very, very little money on advertising. We put 99% of the money we've brought in, we put it right back into hiring and developing technology. And so we are just now starting to get more involved in like how do we get this cool stuff we've built for the last 14 years into more people's hands just to know about it. And I think there's a lot of potential there since now we're doing weather everywhere. Like you open the app and it shows the weather where you're at and it shows
Hmm.
all the forecast. You could be standing in Kansas, open the app, and you'll have weather model plumes showing you how much precipitation is going to fall over the next 10 days on each model right there where you're standing in Kansas. The winds,
Yeah.
the temperatures, it has all this data that farmers can use and people and drivers and boaters, fishermen, hunters, all that weather data for everywhere is now in your hand. How do we get that message out since we're still kind of like a ski company in people's minds? Obviously, our name's Open Snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and when is this show coming out? What's the date that this is coming out?
This will be not this Thursday. Let me pull my calendar, but next Thursday. So I
Well, I
guess,
can tell you a secret that doesn't matter because it'll be not a
Be
secret by
out by
next
then.
Thursday.
Okay.
So we have a new severe weather app coming out on the 1st of April is what we're shooting for. So that one, um, and I'm not going to tell you the name yet, just keep an eye out for it,
Okay.
but it doesn't have the word snow in it.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
and it's using mostly all AI technology.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're going to go with a lot of our expansion. We'll still have open snow and all the technology, but then we'll build a lot of the technology for all weather with AI based weather technology in that app, and then we can bring that technology that we need for skiing into the open snow app,
Okay.
and then we'll have this, but it'll have a better name. It won't be just snow, so non-skiing
Snow.
people won't be like, "Why do I need a snow app? I live in Florida."
Yeah.
Um, well, so um, we'll have two for now, two apps, and see how it goes from there. But so let's get this out to a lot more people, this technology that we're developing that no one else is developing with the AI and everything. But the future is going to be you just talk to your phone,
Yeah.
and it's going to be able to tell you what to do, when to go, where, when the best time to drive up. That's the biggest question we get. When should I drive to Tahoe? I get off of work at 3 o'clock on Friday. Like, should I go that night? Should I wait till early Saturday morning? Like, your phone should be able to tell you based on our data. Like the best driving window with the least intense snow looks to be 1 to 3 a.m. I'd come up then. The best powder day with the coldest dry snow looks to be, next Tuesday at 8 a.m. And so all this stuff we're building, hopefully your phone will be able to tell you through AI. And then
Yeah.
what is BA saying about it? Oh, well, here's kind of a summary of what BA is saying in 5 sentences and his thoughts on the next week. And so it'll be able to pull apart our site and then give you whatever you're asking it.
yeah, that'll be awesome. You answered my question because I was going to say with this and you talking about it being used for farmers and stuff. I was going to ask if you were going to keep it all in house or kind of start a separate thing for that and keep keep open snow as open snow. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
all
said
the
that's
technology is going to be on both, but um, the severe weather app is going to be more for just having a longer distance notifications about severe weather at first, I think, for tornadoes and lightning and severe weather. Just using that AI technology to get people, hey, 5 days from now, you could be in a tornado zone. You don't
yeah.
have to wait till 10 minutes before you hits your house and the siren goes off.
Yeah.
So you can
No,
prepare a
that's
little
huge.
little earlier. So anyway, I don't know. We're just doing a lot of cool, fun stuff, but we're still small. So I'm excited to advertise a lot more and get the word out there and see what happens when more people find out what we're doing. And um, the more people that find out and want to join us and subscribe, then obviously we just keep pouring all that money back into technology. So
Yeah.
do you still have the same excitement that you did when you first started this when you were on the East Coast as a kid and watching storms and stuff, or has it shifted over the years where this passion then became work? Like, how do you balance the work versus passion aspect?
yeah, everything becomes a job, just like anyone else's job, right?
Yeah.
So whatever job you're in and you're like, oh man, I've been doing this for 10, 20 years and this gets mundane and it's I liked it or I like it, but it's just like to get up early every single day, go to work. Yeah, everything becomes a job no matter what you're doing. And so people look at it sometimes be like, oh, you just forecast snow for skiers and go skiing and you're so lucky. And I'm like, well, it's not a job. You know, you get burned out by April getting up 7 days a week, at 4 or 5 in the morning to put together forecasts and talk about the same thing every morning for
Yeah.
20, and this is my 19th season, so next year will be 20 years of getting up 7 days a week at 4 or 5 in the morning for 6 months straight, talking about snow at the same 18 ski resorts
Yeah.
every year, every morning, all season. So yeah, it kind of I still get excited for storms, not probably like I did when I was chasing them and not writing about them every day because I see storm cycles coming. I get excited just because there's storms. I get excited because there's a chance to ski powder. But then also I know this is going to be a crap ton of work.
Yeah.
And we're going into April and its storms are still coming and I'm like, okay, well, I know my next 2 weeks are still going to be busy, even though I'm trying to go into my off season here in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you kind of get tired. When I did a lot more social media before subscriptions have been nice on my brain because when we were eyeballs based, advertising based company, it was all about getting the clicks and eyeballs over to our site to get revenue. And so I spent a ton of time on mountain and in the middle of snowstorms at night in the Sierra, posting on Instagram and Facebook and X and all these different places, trying to get as many people to see these videos, get them to go viral, and point the traffic back to our website. And then when we became subscription based, it's based on subscribers now. It's not based on clicks. So we don't need, and that it took away that whole thing of people are like, oh, you're just trying to make the storm sound bigger than it is to get clicks. Well, your argument went down the drain when we started subscriptions. What was that? 4 or 5 years ago? I can't remember,
Yeah.
but it's been a while now. And that took away that argument. And so now that doesn't do us any good. We just need people to subscribe and they're not going to pay us for whether if you're not telling the truth. So,
Yeah.
um, but that took away my need to be like on mountain all the time, trying to create viral content. And then I felt like I had to go skiing as many days as possible. So I was getting in my 70 plus days a season, even when the conditions weren't good. I'd work for 6 or 7 hours in the office from super early in the morning, and then at 1 o'clock, I felt like I had to be on mountain somewhere. And all these ski areas are giving us free passes, like to any ski area I want to go in California, basically. I could ski for free, but because they're giving me a free pass, I feel like I had to show up and ski their mountain.
Yeah.
So I start going in circles like, all right, I got to go to Palisades today, tomorrow Sugar Bowl, then North Star, and then I have to get down to Doddridge at some point because they're a partner of ours, but
Hmm.
they're 3 hours away. And
Yeah.
so uh that becomes work, like feeling like you have to be at all these ski areas all the time. You have to be skiing even if you're tired and don't want to go skiing. Um on top of all your forecasting jobs 7 days a week. And so a lot of that's gone now. I'm thankful for that. I've never asked for ski passes, but I've kind of pushed them off
Yeah.
and I don't want them because then I feel obligated to come ski there. I'd rather just tell them when I show up in the morning, like, hey, can I get a pass? I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so now it's nice because I don't feel like I have to ski 70 plus days a year, which is can be fun, but now I'm more of a powder snob. I just ski powder. And so that
Nothing
that
wrong
and
with that. Nothing wrong with that.
that gets you down to more of like 20 days a year of good powder days or something, the 20 to 30, not 70 plus.
Yeah.
Um, and I love sunny spring slushy days and all that. I've had some health issues this year, so I've definitely cut back with I've got degenerative discs in my lower back, and so that's made it hard until we figure that out to ski. But yeah, so no more viral marketing stuff, having to be on mountain, have to be at ski resorts. A lot of that pressure is gone, and that's allowed me. Sorry, this is a really long way to answer your question.
No, you're totally fine.
This is what has allowed me to. I wanted to do this kind of on purpose because I want to get excited again. When you're skiing every day, it kind of loses excitement. If you're,
Hmm.
if you're talking about storms every single day, it loses excitement. I was trying to get my brain back to where I was excited to do what I'm doing. If I'm not skiing every day, then I am excited to go when there's a powder day, you know. And so if I want to, and what I've been doing the last few years is skiing a lot more regions. So it's like, yeah, I put out my job. I do my forecast for Tahoe every morning, but I get to go chase to Colorado or Utah or Montana or Idaho, which is fun because I'm not working there.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
you got to do. You have to come up with new ways and different things to trick your brain to continue to be excited every day. But no complaints. Like that's why me and Joel are like, can you believe this is what we get to do for a living? We're
Yeah.
still very very excited and appreciative of that.
No, absolutely. Well, yeah, I think we got about 4 more minutes here, so I'll wrap it up. But yeah, no, I appreciate you obviously sitting down and re-recording with me and sharing your story. I think it's great. I yeah look forward to because I'm also up early in the morning and getting here five. I'm not 7 days a week, but 5 days a week during the winter season, and it does take a toll. Yeah, the 4 a.m. wake ups are pretty brutal, but getting here and having that information, you making my job easier is definitely appreciated. And yeah, so yeah, again, thanks for sitting down and yeah, pretty awesome story. Hopefully it gets you some traction from at least the Dodge Ridge local area, whoever tunes into this podcast. Um, yeah, I've been subscribed for a while, even prior to working at Dodge, like subscribed on Open Snow, and yeah, it's great. So
And that all that technology, I don't know if people realize, but like when you go on the Dodge Ridge weather page and you're pulling a 5-day snowfall forecast, right? Our API, and then it says open snow at the bottom. That is proprietary. That those forecasts that we give and that our partner resorts are pulling for their weather pages, that's technology that's nowhere else.
Yeah.
That's us pulling GPS point specific. Like we can pull GPS locations from the east side of your mountain to the west, to the base, to mid mountain, to the top. Anywhere you click, the winds are going to be different, the temperatures are going to be different, the precipitation can be different, and that's mid-mountain forecast usually for your middle of your mountain, but it's GPS specific. It's pulling only from the best weather models we've identified with our own proprietary formulas on how to forecast snow. And so that's why we think people use it because we want it to be the best. And a lot of work went into those 5-day forecasts. They're not just pulling over from another forecast like AccuWeather or National Weather Service.
Yeah.
That took us 14 years to build those snowfall forecasts to try to
Yeah.
make them the best. But I guess my thing right now, my vision, besides getting the word out to a lot more people, I spend on a daily basis showing people how to use the app because there's so much in there now that like most people aren't using 90% of it. It's taking it out of their hands and saying, okay, yeah, here's your favorites and your 10-day forecast. I know you look at that every day. Watch this.
Yeah.
Do you know how to, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize all that was in there.
Yeah.
Um, and I get excited about that now, just showing people how cool our tools are for chasing powder and weather. Um, if there was a way just to go speak every day at like somewhere and just show people how to use the app in front of an audience that's subscribing, that would be really fun. But there's not really a good way to do
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
something maybe in the future that'd be a little seminar or something for all the people who do subscribe. Little thing. So awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks again, Brian. I really appreciate it, and yeah, you're pretty awesome. I look up to you. I know maybe compliments are weird or whatever, but it's pretty cool to see you turn Open Snow into what it's become, and I'm excited to see what it continues to progress. So yeah,
yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun partnering with you guys. I haven't been down there to ski in a few years, so like I said, it's over 3 hours usually for me to get down there. But even though I forecast it all the time, and I think I've skied down there quite a few times. I don't know the exact number. There's that guy Sean, who I used to lap with down there, and I think he's from Philly.
Yeah.
So I always trying to find my East Coast buddies at the ski resorts. Um, but I love Dodge Ridge. It's such an awesome mountain, and I wish it was closer, um, so I could come more often.
Yeah.
But yeah, hope to get down there soon and hang out with you guys, and hopefully you have a good spring.
yeah. Appreciate it. Well, yeah. Reach out whenever you do make it down. I'm sure I'll be here. So
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome.
all right, Brian. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Have a good day.
All right,
See ya.
see ya.